By now, you've probably heard that more whistleblowers have come forward, alleging grave misconduct by our Justice Department. Today, two men, Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler, supported these claims, testifying that they witnessed an undeniable pattern of preferential treatment for the Bidens.
I believe I'm risking my career, my reputation, and my casework outside of the investigation we are here to discuss. I ultimately made the decision to come forward after what I believe were multiple attempts at blowing the whistle in the Internal Revenue Service, at the Internal Revenue Service. No one should be above the law. That did not happen here, and I am not sure why.
There should not be a two-track justice system depending on who you are and who you're connected to. Yet, in this case, there was. The statute of limitations had been extended through a tolling agreement with Hunter Biden's defense counsel, and they were willing to extend it past November 2022. Weiss allowed those to expire.
And that first guy you heard from right there, that's Joe Ziegler. He's a Democrat. And now, as more undeniable evidence emerges about the Biden corruption, another criminal indictment against Trump could be happening any day now. Democrats, guess what? They think you're stupid. They think you don't realize that this is all part of their master plan. A page right out of their Democrat playbook. Deny, deflect, demonize. Let's start off with deny. For years, we have heard Biden deny that he knew anything about his son's business dealings.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
How is your role as Vice President in charge of policy in Ukraine and your son's job in Ukraine? How is that not a conflict of interest?
It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else. Period. I'm not gonna respond to that.
Mr. Biden, what is your response to the New York Post story about your son, sir?
I know you'd ask it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. Right up your alley.
Smear campaign. You expect us to believe that he knew nothing about it? It's not out of the question to believe that he's lied and continues to lie, as do the heads of the once esteemed Department of Justice and the FBI. Attorney General Merrick Garland heads up the Department of Injustice and has maintained that he never slow-walked any investigation into Hunter Biden.
As I said at the outset, Mr. Weiss, who was appointed by President Trump as the U.S. Attorney in Delaware and assigned this matter during the previous administration, would be permitted to continue his investigation and to make a decision to prosecute any way in which he wanted to and in any district in which he wanted to. Mr. Weiss has since sent a letter to the House Judiciary Committee confirming that he had that authority. I don't know how it would be possible for anybody to block him from bringing a prosecution, given that he has this authority.
Oh, the word games they play. Can you believe that guy almost became a Supreme Court judge with a lifetime appointment? FBI Director Christopher Wray also doing his best to deny any wrongdoing during his testimony before the House Judiciary Committee. Wray repeatedly refusing to comment on whether our president is under federal investigation for using his power and influence in exchange for millions of dollars. Yet, according to Wray's testimony, he would never protect anyone facing such serious accusations.
Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI
does
not and has no interest in
you won't answer the question about whether or not that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it.
Shakedown it is. The House Oversight Committee has whistleblowers, wire transfers, dozens of LLCs, you name it, all of which show a clear-cut pattern of the Bidens allegedly engaging in a criminal bribery scheme. Yet where is the raid? Where is the indictment? Where is the outrage by the American people that the very highest office in our land could be compromised? Where is the media? No, the media it's too busy praising the guy who is investigating Trump for going to Subway.
Turns out even Jack Smith can't resist a $5 footlong. That's according to what we see right there, new and exclusive CNN video of the special counsel at Subway. What is important is the imagery here. They clearly wanted us to see him.
He stood in line just like everybody else, and I couldn't tell whether it was a footlong or was it a 6-inch sub.
Jack Smith going to Subway today is a message to Donald Trump.
A message to Donald Trump if you get a foot-long subway? You know why there's no outrage? Because the Democrats deflect. That's number 2D. And what better way to deflect than by saying everything is racist?
The resurfacing of white supremacy has been just an extraordinary phenomenon in the past few years.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today.
One of the greatest threats to our national security is domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists.
We are living in a nation that is actually full of racism and white supremacy.
And the Democrats during the IRS whistleblower hearing today were also constantly bringing up racism, this and that. Think about it. Aside from being a pedophile, being a racist is actually one of the worst things you can call someone. I mean, what better way to deflect than by citing another horror facing our great nation, white supremacy? Let me ask you something. How many white supremacists do you know? When the media talks about crime, especially when it involves a minority, they often won't say the suspect's race because they fear that it'll put that minority group in a bad light, of course, unless the perpetrator is white. And when the media reports on crime, somehow, some way, it's rife with racism. In Philadelphia, for example, arrests for illegal gun possessions have hit a record high, but conviction rates, they've never been lower. Yet listen to whom the Philly District Attorney Larry Krasner blames for the shootings plaguing the city of brotherly love.
The Senate is still controlled by Republicans. And so I think we're making progress, but it is going to be a challenge to get Republicans whose identity seems to be so wrapped up in eliminating choice and making sure that every born child has a gun to tuck into their diaper.
Wow, talk about hyperbole there. Meanwhile, what is our president focused on? Giving the Supreme Court the middle finger when they ruled that his student debt relief was unconstitutional.
I'm announcing today a new path consistent with today's ruling to provide student debt relief to as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. Hope on the horizon, thanks to relief that I planned last year. Today's court decision snatches it away from them. I get it. I get it. I hear this. And I'm concerned about it. But today's decision has closed one path. Now we're going to pursue another.
Yeah, pursue another. Yeah, right. You know, he's created this nightmare for this entire country with his reckless policies from crime to the economy to the border. The Democrats never admit they do anything wrong, which brings to me the third part of their playbook, demonize. What better way to defeat your opponent than by demonizing them? And no one knows this better than President Donald Trump.
I think that if we beat them next year, and God help us if we don't, they may just decide to abandon Trump, not because he's a liar, they're fine with that, not because he's immoral, they can live with that too, not even because he's a danger to our national security, but they just might decide to abandon him for the reason you mentioned, which is he's a loser. And as long as they attach their wagon to his, they'll be used too.
Huh. The Bidens know, all the Democrats know that if Trump gets back into office, all of this corruption, the lies will finally be exposed. Trump continues to surge in the polls in a hypothetical matchup. Trump beats Sleepy Joe by 6 points. Speaker McCarthy calling out the coincidence of his next possible criminal indictment.
If you noticed recently, President Trump went up in the polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. So what do they do now? Weaponize government. Number one opponent. It's time and time again. I think the American public is tired of this. They want to see equal justice, and the idea that they utilize this to go after those who politically disagree with them is wrong.
It is so wrong, and we are so tired of this. Numerous legal scholars have been saying that the chances of convicting Trump of anything to do with January 6th would be slim to none. So why are the Democrats indicting him now? The reason, I'll tell you right now. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says that no person who has engaged in insurrection of rebellion against the United States can serve in federal office. You see, the Democrats know that they can't beat Trump fair and square. But with you and I continuing to expose the lies, Americans can beat the Democrats at their own game. Because never forget, there is nothing more powerful than the truth.